Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to our next episode of Masters of Product. In our studio today, we have Cory Gundberg. Cory has 20 plus years of experience in healthcare and retail. He's held multiple leadership roles in companies like Optum and Walmart, where he's held roles such as COO and CDO. As for me, I'm your host, Mustafa Kapadia. I help product organizations use AI to improve their productivity by 20%. You can learn more about it at echo-point.com. Cory, welcome to the
Great.
show. Thanks for being here. And actually, thanks for being the second time
Yeah,
guest. So I love it. I love it when my
I
guests come
appreciate
back.
you.
That means that we're doing
I
something
appreciate
right.
you having me and inviting me back. Must have been the first one was okay.
Yes, you definitely passed the sniff test. But I'm glad that you're here because you and I connected a few weeks ago, and you were talking about how the impact of AI and on contact center and how we actually think customer experience. I thought that was a great way for us to get another episode in. If it's okay with you, let's just kind of dive
That'd
in.
be great.
Yes. Perfect. So let's start with the broad perspective. There's lots of discussion about how AI is going to transform the contact center experience. I'm curious, given the roles that you had, how are you seeing this? Where are you seeing hype versus
Yeah.
reality?
I mean, AI and generative AI is all the buzz, and there's a lot of reality behind that buzz. And I've seen it firsthand. It's interesting. If you
Okay.
go into ChatGPT today and you type in like, how are businesses leveraging AI? The first thing that came up for me was customer service and support, which in my
Yes.
experience,
The most
yeah,
popular
my
use
experience, it's
case.
spot on. When you think about the ability to leverage data, structured and unstructured, to improve the experience, maybe superpower the agent and or create self-service options, it
Right.
is there. I was in an industry event in June or so of 2024. We are now in October 1st, I think, of 24, right? And that industry event had people from across different organizations and businesses. So think financial services, think healthcare, think insurance, think retail. And they were all technology and contact center leadership. Everybody was talking about the biggest thing was, how are you using AI to grow and scale and service more efficiently? Because
Right.
sometimes a contact center is a sales channel, sometimes it's a servicing
Yes.
channel, and sometimes it's both. And that was all the
Yes.
conversation.
You're absolutely right. Because even when generative AI first came out, contact center was one of the first use
Mhm.
cases that people talked about. But it's not as easy as people think, right? Because there's so much nuances that you talk about when you're actually talking to an agent on the phone or you're chatting with somebody even on text. So just I'm curious, since where do you think are some of the most promising use cases?
Yeah, and I just think in the industry, right? In my experiences,
Right.
first when I think about an individual consumer or client contacting via phone or chat, generally an organization wants to eliminate that contact. If they can't eliminate
Right.
that contact, they want to contain it. And if you can't contain it, you want to efficiently service that contact. And that's how I think about it. And I think AI and generative AI
Mhm.
has unique use cases in every one of those. Let me just give you a little bit of example.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, organizations have a hard time understanding in a servicing environment, why are people calling? You may have an agent that chooses an option for why somebody called, but that may not get to the essence or the root cause of it. You can leverage a large language model and bring together data from multiple sources to truly understand not only why people are contacting on phone, over email, over text, over chat, but also what are the underlying issues? How are people interacting with the website or other digital
Right.
tools? Pull all that data together, use a large language model to truly understand what are the pain points that consumers have and what's working well. So you can eliminate those pain points, right? And eliminate the need to that contact, but also what's working well, you can help that drive revenue and growth. And it's an
Right.
interesting way, I think, to think about it of eliminate, contain, and then efficiently service.
Yeah. I like that model, right? Because it's spans across the entire life cycle, so to speak, of the conversation, right? And I'm curious though, Do you have, so I know most people think about using AI on the front end with customers, but what about the
Mm,
back end? Because, the user experience, sorry, the agent
yeah,
experience is just as
yeah,
important.
for sure. And even before you get to that agent experience, I would say leveraging AI to help contain a contact in a chat. Because you can have an agent that is a virtual agent in the phone, right?
Right,
Or in a chat. And so, that virtual agent can leverage a knowledge base, oftentimes, you know, thousands and thousands of articles. It can access actually back end systems through APIs and serve up a personalized experience for that consumer. And so I think in today's day and age, we have to consider that virtual experience your first agent, or that bot experience your first agent, in order to
mhm,
resolve a consumer's issue and appropriately service the
right.
consumer and get to their needs. And then we'll get into superpowering the human agents.
So is that how you see the flow in which you would actually have a basic AI agent doing the first call, the first triage, so to speak? And then if that's not as resolved, then you actually push it to the human
Yeah,
agent, right? Yeah,
ideally you have upfront digital tools, websites, and apps that eliminate calls, right? And you eliminate issues.
right,
If somebody needs to contact or chat, yeah, I think you want to contain that in whatever mode that consumer chose, which would be a phone or phone channel or a
yeah,
chat channel through an AI agent, an AI enabled agent that is more than just a bot. You can do simple FAQ bots in
mm,
the knowledge base, but if you can empower that agent with personalized information, it is really, really powerful. So, as an example, the only way that I interact with Delta when I am traveling is over chat and their chat function.
really,
And I can reschedule flights, I can rebook flights, I can do a number of different things through their virtual agent. And I love that.
right.
However, there are times where I do need to get to an actual human in order to be serviced. And I love that seamless transition they have in order to go from the virtual agent to a representative or a human.
And that's hard to pull off, so to speak, right? If you think about it from Delta's perspective or any
Yep.
other perspective, to be able to have that entire experience synchronized across different channels and different modes, so to speak, and then you actually had to build the AI underneath all of
We
those
create a
things,
highly personalized
right?
experience there because I
Um,
need to know who you are, what you've done, why you're likely
yeah.
contacting, and those things. Yeah.
Um, so let's take that. So let's step back a little bit more, right? So when you think about this experience that you're talking about, like where are the value drivers, right? I mean, yes, customer experience and improving customer experience is of course one key value.
Yep.
And I'm curious if you have more, if you can talk more about that. But what else, or what are the other value drivers that you
Yeah.
see?
In general, when I look at an opportunity, and this is one of those opportunities, I think you can drive growth through sales and or customer retention. I think you can improve the consumer experience as often measured through net promoter score. You can improve the employee experience as often measured through some employee experience survey. Do they have the tools, technologies? Do they enjoy their job? And you can drive productivity and reduce costs, all while improving quality and the outcomes for those you're serving. And I think,
Yeah.
that's how I think about driving that value. And I think when you create super powered agents through AI, and we can get a little bit into that next, maybe, then you can really drive that value.
So you're talking about you're talking about the value, of course, on the user side, so to speak, of what
Mhm.
you just talked about. Do you see that there's value in? There's a lot of talk about, and you can tell me if this makes sense or not. There's a lot of talk about using the value to drive productivity on
Yes.
the agent
Yep.
side,
Yep.
right? So do you see that happening too, or how do you see
I
that
do.
playing?
And that's what I mean by kind of super powering the agent or super powering the human. Okay. Right.
Perfect.
So great
Yeah.
lead in there. When I think about that, first and foremost, you want an agent when they take a chat or a call it a contact. You want them to be able to be, fully focused on taking care of that consumer's needs. Too
Right.
often, agents are looking across multiple systems, trying to find information, trying to take notes on the call to document it for follow up, right? So if that person calls back in, somebody has quality notes. So here's a few examples of where you can really superpower an agent. And one of the areas is, you can have AI listen to the call and then do an auto summarization of the call. Like people are probably using this today, they're listening to this on Microsoft Teams or leveraging Copilot at Microsoft Teams or, other means through Google where an AI agent listens to a meeting and they summarize it. You can do the same thing in a call
Right.
and then you can auto document that call. So the agent doesn't have to worry about all the details and typing up the notes, which sometimes they do well. Sometimes the human doesn't do well. They can focus on serving that consumer and taking care of that problem. And what happens then is that agent is able to resolve the consumer's issue more often than they would otherwise, provide higher quality
Right.
service, and be more productive or do it in fewer minutes. Right?
Yeah.
And we can talk about a few other examples if you want to, but I'll pause there to see if you have any questions.
No, no, I love the example. In fact, I was gonna go see, and I was gonna actually, that was gonna be my next question is like, tell me where else you see people
Yep.
taking advantage, even though I know we're relatively new and
Yep.
we're just scratching the surface of what we can do with AI and customer
Yeah.
experience. Like the Delta is a great example. The one you just gave about super agent is
Yeah.
a great example. Curious to see where else
Yeah.
you see this
So,
happen,
I think
as well as where you see things going
yeah,
bad too, if you don't
probably,
mind.
there's a couple more examples of superpowering agents or preparing agents to do their job more effectively. And so, you know, imagine having an AI agent assist where that agent is on a call or a chat with the consumer. The AI agent assist is listening to the call in real time, understanding the context, knows who they are, and serving up relevant information and knowledge articles that agent can then make a decision. Because,
Okay.
generally what's happened in the past is, agents have had to listen to the call and, your really tenured, most experienced agents likely know how to service. Your less tenured, maybe
Yes.
less experienced agents need to go search a knowledge article, right? In a knowledge base. Or that knowledge base could be a PDF file that they're searching, they're doing text searches on. Kind of depends upon the sophistication of the organization. Having that AI assist allows agent to again focus on the consumer, get the information they need through the knowledge articles about how to resolve this problem, service this consumer, take care of their needs, and really focus on providing a very high quality experience for that consumer. Okay, so there's one example, and I can go into a couple more if you want.
I do like that example just because you're right. Because, because you can have the AI quote unquote
Yeah,
listen in the entire conversation as opposed to being some discrete technology out there that's just sitting out there and helping the agents for the user. I love the
yeah,
example.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah. No, it's
please,
good.
please.
Bit of a dialogue here, right? So, you know, one of the challenges in a servicing organization or a contact center is oftentimes there's either high turnover or cyclical cycles in the business that mean you have to staff up or staff down and train a number of agents, right? And a lot of times those agents go into a classroom-based training where it's instructor led and the instructor goes over the material, right? And then the agents run exercises on how to do that. And sometimes those exercises
Right.
involve a simulation, as an example. So maybe you and I are in a training class together, and we have to play a scenario where I am the caller and you're the agent, and we role play that scenario. That's very, very traditional in
Right.
training. Well, imagine being able to do that with your headset on, the tools in front of you, and doing that with an AI agent that is doing the training, right? So you have an AI consumer on the front end that's calling in. The agent is in real time servicing that consumer, and the AI can react in real time to what the agent is saying and respond in context. And then you
Yes.
can provide feedback to that agent on how they're doing. This really allows this AI type of training allows agents to become much more proficient,
Feedback.
much faster. And we're seeing that across the industry.
Are you seeing actually examples of people using
Yeah,
that
I am seeing
already?
examples of using that already, AI agent assist and auto call
Yeah.
documentation in the industry. When I talked about that event I went to earlier this year in June, you know, different organizations were talking about where they were on that journey. Some were testing and learning, Some were scaling, some were piloting, but they were all at various points in doing one or multiple of these.
Because you're absolutely right. The benefit accrues to both parties, right? Not just the user getting
Yep.
a great experience, but the agent getting feedback in real time or maybe at the end and saying, here's how you could have actually done better, so to speak.
You know,
I do have, I allow me to throw a monkey
sure.
wrench if that's okay, right? The scenarios that you're talking about here makes the assumption that users are eventually going to contact that website. So, for example, going
Yep.
to Delta or going to American Express or whatever that company is, and then chatting with
Yep.
that agent or that bot, so to speak. One of the articles I was reading just to kind of do quick research on our conversation is that there is this, and you can tell me if it's a real fear or not. You know, people will just bypass the website of the organization and go straight to ChatGPT or whatever their
Sure.
preference is and start asking questions that way. Now, of course, it's not personalized, it doesn't have all the information, but you as an organization run into that danger about them getting the wrong information, so to speak. I'm curious to see, is that is that a real problem? Or and if it is, how do we overcome
Yeah,
it?
I think what you have to ensure then is, as an organization, information and data that you're publishing on your website is up to date and accurate. And some of these models are a bit dated in sort of what they're
Yeah.
calling. And so I think the challenge is, as a consumer, you do run the risk, if you leverage ChatGPT or something like that for more real-time information, that it may be outdated, right? Could be hallucinating. Who knows?
Yeah, that's always a danger. And I don't know if there's really an answer
Yeah.
to it, because there is a lot of people are talking about, if I have a problem, I should go to
Yeah.
ChatGPT first
And it's a great tool.
and see like
Yeah. It's a great
right.
tool.
But then sometimes that information is completely wrong, which then leads us to other problems with customer experience. So talking about challenges, what else do you see? So if you see the scenario in which agent says you have better customer experience, you're resolving issues much faster and the customers are being more happy or are
Yeah.
happier for it. Where else do you see some of the
Yeah,
challenges?
probably challenge and opportunity at the same time with the first one. Meaning, you know, I talked about how oftentimes organizations need to train up a lot of agents at one time. And those agents may be for a specific language, like it could be Spanish or Mandarin or English or whatever it might be, right? And so when you think about, a large organization that needs to service a diverse population, that diverse population oftentimes need to be serviced in their native language. So
Right.
training experts in sort of their native language all the time on, the functionality of the business can be a challenge. However, what we're starting to see now is what I'd call real-time language translation. And, I would say I've seen early pilots, it's probably early days, but imagine being able to use, your best trained, your most expert agents on your most critical clients, regardless of the language that they
Which
speak, because of the real-time translation. And we're starting to see some of that come through now where it is actually production ready. And I think it's really,
wow.
really exciting, right?
That is truly a game changer because you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Because then you can take somebody from any language, so to
Yeah.
speak, right? And they can converse with somebody with any language. And so you really get to a
Yes.
universal
Yeah, for sure.
type of react experience. Any other challenges that you see? Like, well, what about challenges with just for a company who's trying to adopt this? Like, what are some of the things that they are going to have to
Yep.
overcome in order to get to this
Yeah.
scenario that you're
And
talking
so
about?
let's assume that a company is starting in the contact center or customer servicing space, as most are, right? First and foremost, the underlying data and information that the AI uses and will be trained on, right, needs to be up to date, needs to be relevant, and it needs to be structured in a way that the AI can leverage that and make it useful, whether that is in a self service experience like containing a call, a phone call, or a chat, or it's in
Right.
an agent assist experience where it's serving up the knowledge articles. That knowledge base needs to be up to date, accurate, and available for the AI to be able to access it and utilize it efficiently. And oftentimes, when I talk to organizations, they are first and foremost needing to rewrite the knowledge base so it can be usable by the AI.
That is true too, because you are absolutely right. The way we
Mhm.
write documents is not the way AI reads the documents because they have a very different way of consuming
Yep.
information. What about just simple adoption challenges, right? Because we are talking about a sea of
Yeah.
change, not just for the consumer. I mean, the consumer will
Yep.
adapt, so to speak. But the agents itself, the training,
Yeah.
hiring, how you actually use, how you change the processes. Where do you see that as being a challenge as well, or is
Yeah.
that
When I in my experience, what I've seen is when something's going to be helpful to the agents, let's call it auto call documentation or the classroom training, right? With AI bot, they actually like that. It's more comfortable for them to do the classroom training with an AI bot
Mm,
than it is another human sometimes in a peer, right? I think the AI agent assist takes time to get right. And you have to have a feedback loop there where the agents can provide feedback. Was this relevant? Was this not? In order to train that model to get it right. So oftentimes in every one of these scenarios, you're going to have to start with a small test, a small pilot, train the model, get it right on a specific product or experience, and then move on to the next one. And so I think an organization really needs to take the time to get the quality right and focus on that prior to scaling and monitoring, and then have ongoing quality monitoring of the AI in its efficacy and its quality.
yeah, that actually, you're absolutely right. Because there is so many ways you can
Yeah.
slice it and dice it, so to speak. Um, One last question. I love the picture that you painted, right? I love the future of where it can be. I'm curious for people who are just starting off, for leaders and executives who are saying, you know what, we need to figure out how we can use
Mhm.
AI to deliver better service and make our agents more productive. Like any 2 or 3 words of wisdom of how's the best way they
Yeah.
can get started.
I think it's a classic of first, clearly understand the business problem you're trying to solve in the context of that problem, because
Right.
AI can be a bit like a hammer and a nail, right? If
Yeah.
if I have a hammer, maybe everything looks like a nail and a great problem to solve. So
Yes.
how do you go and sort of pick those opportunities that you can contain? So that could be in a servicing experience, auto call documentation, that could be classroom training, and really learn how to
Mm,
build those models. That could be, hey, how do I maybe go and start with a large language model that pulls together underlying disparate data to truly understand and identify where are the opportunities I have to improve the experience, to eliminate issues, provide a better servicing experience. All of those areas are contained, and I'm going to say safer
yeah.
spaces to learn and grow.
Yes. So, yeah, and I agree with you. The experimentation model, right? Focusing on the value and starting small always works well. In your opinion, is it better to start with using that philosophy that you just shared? Is it better to let's start using AI on our agents first, as opposed to releasing to the customers? Or how do you recommend that adoption?
Mm. Um, I think that AI has come a long way in being able to contain calls and chats. So calls in an automated voice response
Yeah.
system or integrated voice response system IVR and in a chat function. And I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of great companies and capabilities out there that can do that. And it's a great place to start in order to drive value.
It's a good idea too, because you're absolutely right. You can actually start with the chat function, which is quite
Yep.
limited. Well, limited as in, you can
Yep.
control the
Very
environment.
controlled environment that you
Uh,
can control the quality on, you can measure
yes.
the quality, right? And, you know, essentially for every chat or phone call you contain, right? You are saving money.
Saving time. Yeah, exactly. Because you're saving time, agent time
Yep.
for the more
Yep.
complex piece. I know I said that was the last question. I actually lied.
Okay.
There's one more. Just curious, and I like to ask this for all my guests. How are you personally using ChatGPT or AI for anything, either for work or for personal reasons? Any personal hacks that you
Yeah.
want to share?
Probably fairly traditional to how a lot of people are using it. I use it for research. a lot. I love the ability for it to summarize if I'm researching an organization, a company, a problem, things like that as a thought starter with ChatGPT. And I love, as an example, using if I'm on Microsoft technology, using Copilot to document
Yeah.
meetings, notes, actions, things like that. And then, you can use it, to, check emails you want to send or documents, and then just ensure that you have the right sort of language in there. It can really help you be more productive.
I love that because you're absolutely. I mean, I talk to in the podcast and also outside. I talk to people, and everybody has such unique
Yeah.
use cases, but it always comes back to let me do them. How can I be
Yep.
more productive with all the things that we know we have to do? We just don't have the time, and then AI can actually
Yeah.
just do it much better. This has been great, Corey. This is fantastic. I love your perspective, the picture you painted. I can't wait to actually have you back third
That'd be
time
great.
again to see how the industry has evolved.
Yeah. I
Yes,
love sort of coming in and just talking about my industry perspective based on the experience that I've had over my career. And I appreciate the opportunity.
perfect. Thank
Awesome.
you very much.